Hi everybody. 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. This is a continuation of the hearing for Moose Mountain site plan review application from a couple weeks ago. And we have the public comment period is still open. I think we'd just like to thank you and just say that we want to move forward and come together on some things we can agree on. And there are some things that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Molly, we'll let you speak at some point coming up. I do want to, we should have done this in the last meeting, but we do have an email that I wanted to quickly summarize for the public comments. And this is from Paul and Helen Goranson. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a pretty long email. But basically, it says, I support Mr. Comeau and Mr. Warren's efforts to inject economic energy into the former Moose Mountain. They're in a butter, and it says, many areas of doubt on our deed as to exactly where certain parts of our property lie. Mr. Comeau and Warren were doing some trailblazing up top. We're not sure if it was on our property or not, based on these deed issues. And then he goes on to say, as long as this revitalization effort for Moose Mountain and any construction is more than 200 feet from our property line, we fully support what we're doing. So just wanted to get that into the public domain. And Molly, I don't know if you want us to start, but you gave us a lot of information. And as you go forward, I might interrupt you. We'll go down a certain path, but why don't you go ahead for now?
Okay. Thank you guys for coming out tonight, whether you're in support or not. We love to hear the feedback. We had a lot of good feedback last time, and I'm looking forward to a lot of your opinions being stated tonight. I don't really have a whole lot to say right now. I know I went through a big spiel last time, but I feel like I'm kind of handing it off to the public for their concerns and the board on what steps they want to take moving forward.
Can I ask you something? When we were here last time, you had said that your descriptions, which by the way, thank you very much, they were really helpful in understanding what you guys are planning on doing, were sort of a jumping off point. Is there anything in there in particular that you feel like needs to be negotiated? Or if the board were happy with everything that was in there and just approved it as written, would that be okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so just maybe to give this a little bit of focus for the public and for Moose Mountain folks. The property has previously been approved for tubing, functions, and events. That was in 2010. So we don't need to approve those requested facilities. Secondly, disc golf was approved in 2013, and no other uses have been approved. And then if we go down the list of things that were on the application, one of the things was all permitted uses. So there's a list in Appendix E in the zoning ordinance of all permitted uses. And there's, I don't know, 25 or 30 things on there. That's what we would like to focus and talk about. There are some things that were on the request on the application that would require a zoning variance to come before the planning board. So the zoning variance has to come first. Then you'd have to come back to the planning board. Example being the caretaker dwelling and some other things. And then, since there was no application for a conditional use permit, anything that's on the conditional use permit list is sort of, off the topic right now. So I think we should focus on permitted uses. Does that make sense to you? Okay.
And do you have a list of those, or do you need it?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, so does everyone have a list of the permitted uses? Did we put that in earlier?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to read them real quick just so everyone knows sort of the parameters of what we're talking about. And I think Molly's paragraphs are back there. So the things that are permitted are alpine slide, archery, astronomy, ATV trail riding, banquet facilities, which have already been approved, bird watching, and I encourage you to read the bird watching description because it's fabulous. Club or business meetings or training activities, cross-country skiing, dancing, day camp, disc golf has already been approved, downhill skiing, equipment rental / service for permitted uses only, equipment sales excluding snowmobiles for permitted uses only, fishing, food service activity driven, full service restaurant, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, tenting, indoor gaming events, luge, miniature golf, mountain biking, non-competitive, one caretaker dwelling, orienteering, racket sports, skate park, skating, ski jumping, snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobile rentals, snowmobile trail riding, swimming, theater, trail running, non-competitive, tubing, vending carts, weddings, and zip line.
So those are the items that we would like to focus on tonight. Maybe before we get there, should we make a motion to deny the zoning and conditional use permit?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
And just one thing, I note in the draft motion, we have vending carts as needing a conditional use permit, and that is incorrect. Vending carts are permitted use.
So I make a motion to deny the site plan approval of the following uses, which are axe throwing, camping, glamping, the second caretaker dwelling, obstacle course, and food truck, as they're not permitted under our zoning ordinance. So before we can approve these uses, the applicant will require a variance from the ZBA and seek to amend the site plan in the future.
I second that.
Any discussion by the board members?
Nope, no public comments on a motion.
Any thoughts? No? Okay, so we have a motion and second on denying site plan approval for the things that are not permitted because of the zoning ordinance. Marcia read the list of that. All those in favor? All those in favor? Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, well, not yet, but go on.
Can you do the vote?
Yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, no vending carts.
So, just before we go there, so you're clear that those things need a zoning variance before?
When I spoke to the zoning board previously, they told me it was something that would be denied by you guys, and then I would go to the board.
Okay.
So is that the process I go through
That's
now? And then-
kind of what we just did.
Yeah. So would that be a continuance of this application after the fact? Like if I go with a variance, would it continue on this application, or would I have to apply a new one?
I think it would be a new application, but because you were sent here and the site plan review requirements actually require you go there first, and because you've been sent here and fro, I think if you applied to waive the application fee, that would probably be granted.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would concur with that. So the second aspect we talked about was the things that require conditional use permit. And you're well aware of what that list is because they're on the appendix C on the right-hand side. And I'm wondering if we can get a motion on the conditional use permit items.
I motion that. Okay, I motion that we deny the site plan approval for the following: the antique arts and crafts, gun shows, competitive mountain biking, RV camping, tractor pulls, and vending carts.
Nope, not vending card.
Okay,
Vending
no
carts.
vending carts.
So
And tractor pulls.
Any discussion by the board?
You need a second.
I'll second
Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
So again, that you can come back and apply for a conditional use permit if you decide you want to pursue those.
Yeah, I just have a clarifying question. What's the difference between a vending cart and a food truck?
I have no idea. And if you can convince us they're the same thing,
I I mean, I would assume a vending cart is something on wheels, and I would assume a food truck is something on wheels. So I would say they're pretty much the same.
I would say if you come back and apply for a conditional use permit, make that argument.
Okay.
Okay.
Because vending cart is a permitted use, right?
Oh, a vending cart is a permitted use. So let's have that conversation now. Does this board think that a vending cart and a food truck are the same thing? You need to make that decision.
I think they are.
You think they are?
I'm fine.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I think we need to amend your previous vote denying the food trucks.
Oh,
So, Marshall, do you want to move to amend your denial of the food trucks?
I would. So moved. You move.
I'll second that.
Okay,
The food truck.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
so they're not approved yet, but they're not denied. Okay. Okay, so now we can talk about the things that are permitted uses. Everyone on the board had a chance to read Molly's descriptions of her proposed uses. Do any of you have any, I'm sorry, I've taken over. I'll stop.
Any public comments?
Yes, do you want to start with board or do you want to start with public?
Let's start with public comments.
Yeah, let's start with public comments just to open it up a little bit. And the things that we just denied, obviously, we don't want to talk about RV camping, for example, which was a big part of the last meeting because it's been denied. So of the things that are permitted uses, the list that Laura read earlier, any public comments on those?
Would you mind saying them again? Kind of lost in the detail.
What is it? It's a large set of paper you got.
Thank you. Never mind, I'm the list.
Sir.
Brad Williamson, Bedford Road. So do I understand the permitted uses are all permitted and nothing else needs to be done?
No, we haven't approved any, but they requested approval for all permitted uses, all other permitted uses that aren't already permitted.
Right.
We haven't approved those yet. We're discussing those now.
But the permitted uses are all 30 some odd that have been.
That's what they're requesting permission for.
So just because they're permitted by the zoning ordinance, two different things, right? Permitted by the zoning ordinance. And then because they're non-residential uses, they also need site plan approval.
Where does it say that?
Where is that?
That is state law, and that is also in our site plan review regulations.
They use the word apply, but
So this is the site plan review portion of the procedure.
it's Article 5C in the site plan review regulations that requires a site plan review for any change in use of a site or existing building, and that applies to the red zone.
And it's 67439.
And you're saying, because these uses were already approved, that it's a change of use now?
Because their new use is being proposed for this property, so it's a change of use for this property.
But the 30 some odd approved uses, aren't they already approved?
They're
in the zone?
approved for the zone, they're not approved for the property.
They're permitted for the zone, but they have to go through this procedure otherwise. So that's what's so confusing, is that it says permitted, but it's really not until it goes through the process.
So the process can't deny that?
The
If it's
process,
a permitted use of property?
the process could deny it. So, site plan review in most towns have more than one property in a zone, right? So, for example, if you lived in Rochester and you wanted to open a store, and that would be a permitted use under zoning. That's hurdle one. Then you have to go for site plan review, make sure that you're addressing things like traffic, noise, parking, delivery zones, right? So that's what site plan review is supposed to cover. This is a very unique zone and a very unique property and a very unique application because they're not really asking to build anything, right? All they're asking to build is a deck. So,
I'd like to clarify, we're not building a deck.
Oh,
That
the
was
deck's
never
on.
mentioned.
You're
Isn't
not
that what you're adding? The
No,
outdoor
we're not
restaurant?
in grass. I've said that a couple of times.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's a big issue. I think that's how we got started into it.
Okay.
We're not building a deck. It's just outdoor seating.
So a very unique application that they're not asking to build anything, because normally a site plan review also reviews where the buildings are going on the lot. So it has seemed to everyone, like, why on earth are we doing this? Because they're not doing anything, so it seems. But they're adding uses, and particularly the use that they've added that has been of concern to the town has been the restaurant, which has, the functions have been approved. The restaurant has not been approved. And the restaurant, being a daily thing, with people coming to the property every day, with music and whatnot, is a different use that has been going on. And so this board needs to review that use to make sure it complies with the site plan review regulations. And that's all this is.
Yeah, there's always been dining there.
There was a restaurant that was used daily for breakfast, for snowmobile traffic, for a whole bunch of things.
No, legally.
Not legally.
I remember skiing there in the 60s and 70s.
Okay, but once you stop using it, you lose the ability to do it.
That's not true.
No, I disagree with that.
Okay, well, I can tell you.
What process stopped the approval?
Okay, because it was legally used that way, and then stopped, and then the town adopted zoning, and it wasn't used as a restaurant at the time we adopted zoning. It wasn't a permitted use. It's called a non-conforming permitted use. I do this every day. I've been here for 25 years. I promise you I'm not lying to you. If it was not being used as a restaurant at the time the town adopted zoning, it is not a legally permitted use, and it needs the permission to continue to use it.
So where does grandfather, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I was on the planning board, we set this all up so that it can continue.
Yeah.
And I'm not understanding why if there's a pause in a certain operation, all of a sudden it has to be approved again.
Because that's just the way the law works. If you stop your non-conforming use, you lose the right to recontinue it.
If I stop using my cabin in the back that his grandfathered in, I haven't slept in that in 10 years, does that mean I have to come back to the town for approval to sleep in that again? It was grandfathered in perpetuity.
No, because that's a residential use and you don't need site plan approval for it. You have all the permissions you need to do it. This is different.
I believe that there's some confusion around the food service that has kind of metamorphosized, whatever that word is, over time. It used to be associated with, say, a snowmobile riding event, and they were serving hot dogs and soda. And then there was a liquor license approved, and eventually the restaurant. And I don't know, you know more history, how that developed after you bought the property, but I think that's where some of the confusion lies. I think if we let this rest, and we'll see where this, if we get a motion regarding the restaurant.
Yeah. I would like to just set on record that if Moose Mountain had previously had a liquor license, they had to operate 5 days a week with that liquor license. So there was a restaurant there every day of the week, just the same as us, with, you know, serving food and alcohol. They would have to do that with their liquor license requirements. So that is what they were doing, and they did advertise it as a full-service restaurant, and it was put into record in 2009 that there was a restaurant there. So.
Is that consistent with what we know?
I know that there was no approval for it in 2010, so that's what I know. And I mean, without a record of approval, there's nothing I can do for you.
But you just said that if, at the time that zoning was adopted,
Yeah.
that if it wasn't happening, they wouldn't be able to continue.
Right.
But if they were operating in 2009 to 2017, wouldn't that be in the time that the zoning was adopted?
At the times, when did we adopt zoning? 83?
But then it changed a couple times, did it not?
If you can show me evidence that when the town adopted zoning, it was a restaurant, and that it operated as a restaurant that whole time that we've had zoning, we're having a different conversation.
I have already submitted that to the board in previous meetings.
I haven't seen it. Okay. So we're here tonight. I feel good about your chances being approved tonight.
Yes.
Do you want to proceed tonight and get this over with, and then we can have that conversation too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think I can move forward.
Yeah.
My thought on that. So with all those permitted uses, uses, I would like to separate out the food-related items, which would include food service / activity-driven, full-service restaurant, and outdoor weddings. And forgive me, but and food trucks. And I was operating under the impression that you were going to build a 30 by 50 foot deck, because I remember that discussion.
Yeah, no, that's just, we
I have
have
a
to
question.
rope that in.
Would you rope off a 30 by 50 foot area?
Yes, so
is
it's
that
already
the plan?
locked in currently, how we have it set up, it's been set up that way for a little while. But the only time that we've actually been able to operate out there was the tree burn, which was on the 11th of January. But yeah, that's what the permanent assembly is for our outdoor area, and what the liquor commission has on our application for that extended area of service currently.
Are you gonna have like a little patio?
It's
Or
just,
it's on the grass?
it's flat grass, so it's right at the west side wall. We have a back drive that kind of comes up behind it. It's just a small patch of grass. We'd be able to have like a service window, outer bar window, and then it would lead out the west side wall, which we have a door there. And then there's, you know, a little shed right there and facing the building, and that's where we'd have people possibly fit maybe 4 to 5 tables out there. We already have them, they're pretty small. Probably roughly 25 people for seating out there, but we want to put like 2 cornhole boards and like a couple dart boards so people can drink and be outside, because that's a big issue that we were having previously, is that we had outside container on property, and with us having a liquor license, anyone that has outside container is now our liability, and if we get caught with that, it becomes, you know, our issue. We can have our license revoked. So that's why we were implementing the outdoor alcohols, because people were already doing it, and we just wanted to, you know, have everyone corralled in.
Okay, two questions. Can you show the public on the map where it's going to be?
Yeah, so the outdoor dining that we proposed is right here. So this is the lodge building. So I have the lodge highlighted in red because that's where we also serve alcohol. And then the extended bit is right out here. It's hard to tell from a distance, but it's a very minimal area, not too big.
And then the second question relates to capacity. So your capacity now is 48, is it 42?
Yeah, so right now with how it is we have to serve 48 people's food at a time, but we can have our max capacity with drinks. So
Which is
we
what?
have 2 different permits of assembly. We have one for inside and one for outside. So our outdoor permit of assembly for that area is 40 people. The inside is 90 people with tables and chairs. If we were to remove all of our tables and chairs and say we had, you know, an event that was active, like dancing inside or something, we removed all those tables, we could have 150 people inside. So total would be like 190, but then also we have a different permit of assembly for amount that we're allowed to utilize outside, which is an additional 200 people on the mountain. So if we were to have a special event like that, like a wedding outside, we are allowed to, you know, obtain that many people outside that area. And again, we get another permit of assembly for that setup area. So normally that would take place under like a rental tent, like those big white tents that you normally see for weddings, and that would get its own permit of assembly, and we'd have that set up by another company.
I seem to remember some number like 237 or something. Some weird number. But that would be the total, including inside and outside for special event? What's the absolute total you could ever have up there?
I believe it's 400, but I think with different things going on, that number can fluctuate depending on, you know, a lot of that is built around our septic design, actually. So with our current septic design, that's why we have the paper service. So per person that's on the mountain, if they're eating and drinking, they get more gallons of water per person for the septic design. And then the people that are doing outside activities that aren't necessarily eating or drinking, they also take a certain amount of gallons. So we could issue, you know, 4 outhouses, and that would expand how many people we could have on property. And that would all have to be worked out with the state, at state level.
Yes.
And then the parking implication of that? How do you deal with the parking?
So as the map lays out, it says that we have 92 gravel parking spots, but those are pretty much in a straight line. I believe when this map was made, the parking lot looked a little bit different than it does currently. I think it's actually a little bit more cleared out. I think there used to be trees there, but I could be mistaken since I wasn't there. And so now we can fit 2 lines of parking through the parking in front of the lodge. On the west parking lot, it's a bit wider, so we could fit a couple lanes of cars over there, but we do have a disc golf basket, so that would take a little bit of parking from there. But I think a lot of the guests brought up that previously when Bob Bordeaux ran it, he used the front parking, or the front grass for additional parking for special events where they would have more people. So really it just depends on how we want to park that day and how we want to handle the parking situation.
So this is the kind of thing site plan review is supposed to handle. Like you're supposed to have a designated parking area so we know where all parking is going to be. So if there's an emergency and fire and police have to come out there, they know where all the cars are going to be. So, and there's no regulations on it. So I'm not going to say you have to give us a parking plan, but like, could you provide to the town a sketch that shows where the parking is on the plan?
It's in the parking lot.
Right.
Where else you park on the property besides the parking lot?
Okay, sure.
So before I make a motion on this, which I'm prepared to do, are there any comments from the public on the restaurant only? And the other food trucks and food-related items?
Danny Hewitt, 5 Plum Down Dick Road. I'm just curious, the hours of operation for noise level, because I believe last time you had said there's no noise ordinance for Brookfield or for that area. So I'm curious, for me being pretty much across the street, what the noise level is going to be at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
So previously approved hours of operation are 6 a.m. to midnight. That was approved back in 2010. It doesn't really specify for what activities, but we know it's been approved already. So in the motion that I'm prepared to make, we had some conditions. So we can approve things with conditions.
And let's talk to Molly about what the proposed conditions are and make sure they work for her.
Yeah. You want to offer ours up first or ask them first?
Let's talk to Molly about what we propose and see if they work.
Okay. Well, it's also related to music.
Yeah.
So we were thinking that outside music would end at 9 p.m. on weekdays, 10 p.m. on weekends.
So that's what we already have in place, so that sounds good. If we were to extend that time for, say, a special event of some sort, would we be able to come for a...
Go to the selectmen for a special event permit?
Right, yeah. Perfect.
I think the biggest thing though with that is the non-amplifier.
Non-compliant
Yeah,
music outside?
So, no speaker?
Yeah, well, so the acoustic, we talked about like it not being like Metallica playing it.
So you want me to pick genres?
Well, we had just discussed, like, having someone playing a guitar is different than having, music blaring that's going to disrupt the whole community. That's really it's.
Well,
That's what the
about,
issue is that.
what kind of music do you have outside?
Hearing.
Currently, we don't have music outside, but if we were, most of our music that we have right now is acoustic. We have 1 to 2 person, performances. Occasionally, we've had 4 to 5 piece bands there, but nothing, I guess, heavy metal, if you want to say. But if we wanted to, I would see no issue with that. I mean, if they are performing in the outdoor seating area, they're performing to 15 feet in front of them.
Right.
If they're playing so people can hear them 200 feet away, it's going to sound god-awful to the people right in front of them.
Right.
So it's not going to be incredibly loud, but I mean, we already have, only 1 amp inside, and we've already put those perimeters with, the people that perform there. It's 1 to 2 amps, and that's it. But I mean, we haven't had any issues or call-ins with noise or anything so far, so.
The only reason why I bring it up is because we've received people concerned about that.
Yeah.
Worried about the music bouncing off the mountain and it being amplified and just that we want to make sure that no one's.
Right. I understand, but I know that there's no noise ordinance, so I do agree it's 10 o'clock because that's the latest our music has gone to, and if we need to do a special event permit, I'm okay with that to extend an hour.
Do you want to say acoustic music outside?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Are you looking for acoustic, or are you trying to get a Spotify feed outside as well?
I just don't want to put a limit on who I can book as performers.
Right.
Because I can't claim that some of the people that I have right now are acoustic performers because they want to say that they're rock performers, but it's a solo man with a single guitar.
I see what you're saying.
So it's really hard to put those perimeters on music.
But just to clarify, we're talking live music, not a Spotify feed or that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking that, right?
Well, that already happens.
They're not outside.
They're outside.
It is.
They're attached to the building and the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, we already have a speaker system outside the garden and
And they're actually attached to all the old ski lift trails as well.
Where's the parking?
But I can inform you that you cannot hear the music that is playing inside the lodge from the parking lot.
Can you hear the music that is playing outside the lodge from the parking lot? Okay. So how about if we say music must be at a volume that it cannot be heard from the parking lot?
Are you talking?
The outside music.
You can't go with that like that.
How would you regulate that? What decimal would you call that?
I wouldn't call it a decimal. I'm trying to come up with something that,
I would say if you can't hear it from the road, I would say that's fair. But I mean, if we're having live music until 10 o'clock, and we're already putting a story in that doesn't count, doesn't count.
yeah.
And I think that's holding us to a different standard than, you know, the Bobby Joe from down the street and the bonfire.
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
We're just trying to like appease everyone. Like,
Right.
this is not personal at all. Like, we're just trying to make sure that what is put in place is following the rules. That's it.
Right.
Like, it's not like I personally am like, I don't want that music. No. I just want to make sure that they're following the rules and that none of the neighbors are going to be upset.
Right.
That's it. So,
In the back.
Bob Lynham, Robinson Road. You know, I can hear the music from Tumbledown when they have the wedding. I virtually live a mile away on Crow's Flight. I can hear their music on certain nights when it's very quiet. But my question is I guess I don't understand the zoning ordinances, why the rec zone has to go through all these hoops when the agricultural zone and the home industry zone do not have to jump through these hoops. So let's say Frosty wants to have axe throwing. Does he have to come in for a conditional use permit? What if he wants a cornhole tournament? Does he have to come in for a conditional use permit? It seems to me that you're asking this zone to go through a lot more than the other businesses in town that are doing basically the same thing. I can hear the music from Comeau.
Any non-residential use requires site plan approval no matter what zone it's in.
So I talked to Rob Collins, he told me he did not have to go through a site review plan.
I don't know what has happened in the past.
Well, if you're referring to the beer selling, that's an agricultural use, so that is part of the agricultural
Well,
side.
I would consider beer drinking as recreational.
I second
So
If you
if,
heard from the road, you're comfortable with
so
that?
if Rob Collins wants to have axe throwing, does he have to come in for a permit?
You would need a zoning variance for that. because
He would.
It's not
I
conditional use.
retract that statement. Sorry.
I'm sorry?
I retract that statement. No, I do not agree.
Well, you agreed, someone else didn't agree.
Well, that's my team. We work as a team.
Okay, all right. Well, then
if Tumbledown can have weddings and meet in here from his house, why do we have to limit what we do when we're right down the road from Tumbledown?
I agree to the 10 p.m. And I agree to not be, disruptive. If, our neighbor is upset and they come over and the police come over and say, hey, it's too loud, they're going to come over here and negotiate that with us anyways. The police are going to come and see us for any of those concerns at all. I've already talked to the police department about that. And we haven't had.
Well, I'll say this, outdoor concerts are not permitted in the district except by conditional use permit. You've asked for live music as an accessory use to your restaurant. So it's being permitted as an accessory use to your restaurant. So that's how it's being permitted. If it gets out of control, we will deal with it through an enforcement operation. And special events, you will get a special event permit if it's a wedding or something like that, and you want to exceed the hours of operation or you want it to be louder.
If I had live music with the weddings, wouldn't that be included in the wedding? That's part of the service of a wedding.
Yes, but if you want to do it after the hours of operation, yeah.
After 10 or louder, special event permit required.
Go with the letter.
Any other public comments? Okay, I'd like to make a motion on this. It's a little bit long, so bear with me. And I have some changes because I thought we were actually going to request it back. I move that we approve the following uses subject to the conditions that follow. Food service activity driven, full service restaurant and outdoor weddings, and food trucks. Approval is subject to the following conditions. Prior to undertaking any approved uses, all required local, state, and federal permits must be secured. We already have been approved for functions and events, so we don't need to approve that. The requested banquet facilities, that's already approved. Previously approved hours of operation are 6 a.m. to midnight, and we'll get to the outside music in a second. But those remain the hours of the restaurant inside. Any kind of structure would require a building permit. So if you wanted to put a deck on, you'd have to get a building permit. This approval does not approve any new lighting. External illumination of the existing sign, consistent with the current illumination, is approved. Any other existing lighting may be replaced or upgraded, but existing lighting. New lighting would require an amendment to this site plan. Parking limited to 92 spaces, I believe that's your number, right?
But she said that I was hanging enough parking on.
Special use permits may be used to exceed this number, primarily for special events.
And a plan showing the parking areas outside the parking lot shall be submitted.
Indoor live entertainment is an accessory use to the full-service restaurant, and that's approved. Non-amplified live music is permitted outside in the 30 to 50 roped-off area from noon until 9 on weekdays, noon until 10 Fridays and Saturdays.
Should we take out the non-amplified?
Can't do it.
What was that? What was that last part?
We took out the non-amplified.
Acoustic music.
I thought we took that out just to confirm.
Okay. Live music is fine. We'll take the word non-amplified out. Is that clear to everybody? Want to read it one more time?
Yes, please.
All right. I move that we approve the following uses subject to the conditions below. Food service activity driven, full service restaurant, outdoor weddings, food trucks. This approval is subject to the following conditions. Prior to undertaking any approved uses, which are the above, all required local, state, and federal permits must be secured. The property is already approved for functions and events, therefore we do not need to approve the requested banquet facilities. Previously approved hours of operation, 6 a.m. to midnight. Those remain the approved hours of operation unless otherwise noted. If any structures would require a building permit and an amendment to the site plan. This approval does not approve any new lighting. External illumination of the existing sign, consistent with the current illumination, is approved. Existing lighting may be replaced or upgraded. New lighting requires an amendment to this site plan. Parking is limited to 92 spaces. Special use permits may be used to exceed this number, primarily for special events. Indoor live entertainment is an accessory use to the full-service restaurant, is approved. Live music is permitted in the outside area, again, an accessory to the full-service restaurant, from noon until 9 on weekdays, noon until 10 Fridays and Saturdays.
And a plan showing the parking area outside of the parking lot shall be submitted. And the hours of the outdoor music can be extended by special event permit issued by the Board of Selectmen.
Any discussion? That was it. Second? Did you get a second?
Yeah, I second.
Any discussion by the board?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right.
I have a question not related to use. Can I ask a question?
You may?
Okay. Pam Stephenson, Comeau Road, and I apologize, I wasn't here for the previous meeting, so if this was discussed and I'm not aware of it, I apologize again. Hearing that there's a possibility of 92 vehicles that will be permitted to park at the facility, I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about the traffic study that has been conducted that will talk about the impact to Moose Mountain Road, considering it's in pretty bad condition already. It's very narrow, and there's about 2 pretty serious blind spots. And having driven on that daily, I've been almost clipped several times by people exceeding the speed limit and then also not staying to their side of the road. I know that there's been an additional sign posted in the last year that, I don't know, what does it say, stay right or something, I don't know what it says, but it's a dangerous road, and the fact that there might be that many more vehicles concerns me, so I was wondering if you could speak about the traffic study that was conducted.
So I don't know about one that was conducted. We can't require a traffic study to be conducted because we don't have a zoning ordinance for that. I will agree with you that it's kind of dangerous road and there's one blind corner there. We can certainly, I think the planning board can change the speed limit on a local road, no? Okay, select, sorry. So that could be addressed at a selectmen's meeting. We can certainly have requests for Wakefield Police to be parked out there from time to time.
We're good with that.
Yeah,
So-
I think I'm more concerned
But we
about the
can't
damage to the road, and then because it's been in dire straits for a while. The bridge needs to be redone. I can't imagine what that would do if the bridge is under construction and there's an establishment that wants 92 vehicles to get there. You know.
Well, before anything we did here, they were already approved for 92 vehicles. They weren't getting 92 vehicles.
Okay.
This might increase that traffic a little bit. But again, we cannot ask for a traffic study because we don't have that zoning. Okay.
It's not in your site plan review regulations, so we can't ask for a traffic study. It's a public road, so the town is already responsible for maintaining it. And as Ed said, the property's already approved for that many cars. So.
Okay.
But noted, I agree it's a bad road. Other comments at this point? All right, let's move forward.
Yeah.
Sure. Steve?
Just, can I say a few things?
Sure.
Yeah, myself.
We aren't done. We aren't done with all the uses.
What's that?
We aren't done with all the uses. We just did the food uses. We've got more coming.
Okay, I was just trying to move this along a little bit. I just wanted to clarify some things that some people had some concern about. Number one, the fact that Dana and I apparently have thrown Molly to the wolves is not our intention. I think it needs to be stated that we've been trying to do this for 5 years. We've received one permit for a 24-hour period for outside alcohol. Is that correct? 5 years we've been doing this. We got one approval from this board. We have gone through the gauntlet here to try and get something done up there. When Dana and I came into this, we bought that facility. We knew there was a rec center. There was a zone up there. And we had all these permitted uses. And we have done nothing but go to meeting after meeting after meeting to try and get something done to make this beautiful place pay for itself. Because if it can't pay for itself, it's not going to be there. Dana and I like to enjoy ourselves up here. We're all done with business. I don't want any more employees. And the goal, last year, I finally found 2 people that are motivated, want to do this, know what they're getting into. I think it was a little bit more than they expected. But they've been trying very hard. We don't want to do it. Okay, we've offered an opportunity to these 2 ladies that are driven, and we hope they sail with it. We're here to back them up. But for 5 years, we've been trying to do this, and nothing's happened. Now, in the last month, the planning board is finally getting some organization. A lot of it comes from the attorney. But I don't think the attorney understands where Moose Mountain's been over this last, 50 years. All right? She's going to tell you that if it stops, that's the end of it, and that is not the case. The town has to act. If somebody stopped the restaurant, the town has to say, hey, it's not a restaurant anymore. They have to send us some notification that it's been abandoned. Nobody ever gave that up. It's been a restaurant. We should be able to continue. We bought the place knowing there was a restaurant there, and we could continue it. Nothing has ever been sent from the town for an abandonment. I think it's also very important to understand that we are here tonight not for the planning board. We are here for everybody in this room. We're here for the neighbors, our abutters, okay? If we are doing something wrong, we want to hear about it. We're your neighbor. If you don't like what we're doing, this means nothing at this point. Come to us and say, the music was awful loud, I don't want to hear it again, or there's too many cars, or there's too much noise, or whatever. We're neighbors, and we'll find a happy medium, and if we don't, then you guys are going to get us out of here eventually. All right? So anyway, it's a public meeting. If anybody has a problem with what we've submitted, then speak now, and we will work it out with you, and we will meet you in the middle somewhere. But please understand, it is a business. In order for this business to survive and keep that mountain the way it is, and nice and clean and beautiful for everybody, it has to bring in some money. All right? The formula has to work. You guys are a big piece of that formula. As we sit here tonight, we extended this for another 3 weeks, I believe, because of you guys, not because of the planning board. The planning board has put us through the ringer. I've had it. By rights, they've done you a disservice by not doing their job 100%. The 65 days is over. We're on 100 and something now. They had to act on this within 65 days. We're still here because of you guys. If you don't like something, then let us know, and we'll fix it. But by rights, we should get everything on that list, and now all we have is an attorney that's gone through the whole list with a fine-tooth comb and is trying to restrict us beyond what I believe we can live with. And that's unfair, especially after all this time. It's extremely unfair. So, public, if you have some concerns, if it's the RV, if it's the camping, I totally understand. Let us know, and we'll fix it. We'll come to a happy medium somewhere. So anyway, our goal wasn't to throw Molly and Bridget to the wolves here. All right, I'm going to try and shut up. Molly's doing a great job. Hopefully we can get through this, but I mean, it's just beyond me why it's taken so long.
So I've been chairman for about a month or less, just FYI. And I think we're moving along and making some progress. We just approved the restaurant.
The whole board's changed,
Excuse me.
since we started.
I've got the floor. We just approved the restaurant and weddings and outdoor music and your outside space. So I think we're moving forward.
With conditions.
With some conditions, which are reasonable and with input from the public. We have two other...
I would rather have the public say something on the conditions instead of have the attorney come up with all these conditions.
The attorney did not come up with all the conditions. Those are my words.
So these conditions are coming from the public?
They're coming from the board. It's the board's job. And so, you know, I've been the town attorney for 25 years. I am familiar with the history of the mountain.
And
May we finish our jobs now?
And the board's job is to follow the rules. So when you're dead, so say like 30 years from now, and all this stuff is approved, you grandfathered in with the land, and then people are gonna look back and be like, why the hell was this approved? We have to make sure that we're doing the proper job. For free, by the way. We're all up here working for free, doing this after working all day long, trying to do the best job possible for the town by following the rules. It's not personal.
Okay, everybody on this board is new, okay?
Sorry.
Why are we getting into an argument?
So why didn't the board do its job when the last owner was there? And the previous owner to that? Why are we the only one that has to go through all of this? It's not very uniform.
Trying to follow the rules. I mean, that's
We're-
kind of what it is.
We're suffering as well. I've spent 100 hours on this year, easily. And again, we're volunteers, we don't get paid for this. We all have other day jobs.
Unreal.
We're trying to work something and move forward here. It's out of our control if it's in the zoning and says you can't do it. It's not planning board, you need to go to zoning. We've dealt with that issue.
Why didn't you tell us that a year ago?
In fairness, you can read the ordinance too. You did not hire an attorney. You've chosen to try to do this on your own, and I appreciate why you've done that. But I think your attorney has not told you anything that this board has not told you in terms of what is permitted uses and the fact that you need site plan approval. So please let the board finish its job tonight, let it finish acting on your application, and let's get through this so that you can continue to run your business. The town wants your business to succeed. That's why we're doing this. No one wants you to fail. I think Molly's done a great job.
We also spent 4 or 5 or 6 meetings arguing, not arguing, we had the answer.
Debating.
We kept debating, we kept telling you that you need a site plan review because of the change of use. And there was all kinds of debate back and forth about that, and that's the legal, that's what the RSA says.
We're trying to work with you, but there was no change of use because there was a restaurant there.
You're
You
right.
guys have eaten at it. The last planning board, the entire board ate there, and you guys are trying to tell us there's no restaurant. Which is ridiculous.
You're making this us and them, and it's not. We are trying to work it. If you just let us do our job, we have some more motions to make.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to let you do your job for 5 years.
Well, we're doing it now, so let's get on.
Is there a question over here?
I was just going to say, Janet Williamson from the public. Steve, I understand your frustration. I get it more than you know. What I would like to say is that we're here right now, we've got a new board, they're doing their best, they're trying really hard. If we can on both sides just say, I think the public here wants us, let's just move forward. We're here supporting you because we know the frustration that's been here. Let's move forward with a board that's trying to do their job. They listened to my questions when I didn't understand, but they've got good answers and they're moving in the right direction. So let's kind of move forward in a positive way.
Ready?
So,
I don't know.
what's that? Okay, yeah. All right, so another motion. And before I make the motion, I'd like to just read what I'm talking about. I'd like to make a motion. I'm not making a motion now. I'm explaining to the public that I would like to make a motion to approve the following uses. Just 1 second. I'm sorry. All the directions. So I'd like to talk about approving the following uses. Astronomy, ATV trail riding, bird watching, club business association and community meetings or training activities, cross-country skiing, dancing, day camp, downhill skiing, equipment rental service for approved activities, equipment sales excluding snowmobiles, fishing, food service, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, hunting, indoor gaming events, miniature golf, not miniature golf, non-competitive mountain biking, orienteering, snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobile rentals, snowmobile trail riding, swimming, non-competitive trail running, outdoor weddings, which is already approved, take that off. And that's it. And the reason that that list is narrower than all permitted uses is because all those other ones would require a building permit. So we wanted to deal with those separately. This is everything that we don't think would require a building permit. And I can repeat the list if you're interested, but I'd like to hear public comments more importantly.
Jay Anderson, 4275 White Mountain, Wakefield. Why would you trim out all the ones that need a building permit at this point? Because they can always come back and ask for a building permit.
Because we don't have a location. We don't know the location on there.
But that would all be part of the building permit process, wouldn't it? I mean, typically, I've done some of this stuff before, so typically you come in and you say, this, and this are okay. We will consider conditionals when you actually go to do it.
When they know where on the property they want to construct things like a tennis court,
Right,
they can come in to amend their site plan approval to show us where they want to put the tennis court,
right.
and then we can approve the site plan amendment.
That would be a modification of a site plan down the road.
Yes, exactly.
So why would you take miniature golf, which I think would be a great thing over there, off the table at this point?
Because they haven't shown us where they're going to put the miniature golf course.
It's on the map.
No, it's permitted use, it's not, they're not going for the,
It's not, I don't think you're fully understanding what site plan approval is for. It's
no,
not
they would have to
just
come back for a modification, for any other use beyond what they have today, the site plan would have to be modified with that
Yes,
building and those permits in consideration.
yes.
So I've taken it off the table now, I don't think is the right way to go.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Any other public comments? Sorry, no, sorry.
We do have locations on there for some of those objects that you've taken off, such as skating or archery or the miniature golf. Those are all on the map. These would be our skating areas. This would be our miniature golf. What was the other ones? Like the tennis court would be within here on the flat area. So all of those are linked and have an area.
And you're going to do a grass tennis court.
No, that's dirt. So we wanted to build onto there by putting a 20-foot pavement right there. I don't think anyone will mind. But
So
we wanted to
archery,
make
miniature golf, ice skating rink, and racket.
Yep, those would all be in that orange spot because that's what's already flat. We don't plan on, caving into the mountain, making more spots, the mountain more flat. We'd rather utilize the land that's already there. I think that's a big thing on me as well. I'm not, for a lot of things that have an impact on the environment and, the land itself. I would like to leave it as, natural as possible. So if we could put those places in areas that it would kind of sit into the natural land itself, that's where we would have it, and that's why they're on the map in those areas. It's because, where the ice skating rink is, there's already natural forms of water there. There's already, where the miniature golf would be, it's already pretty much flat with a small gravel lift on the left side, so that would be good for, miniature golf. Or, could you approve the hot air ballooning, but I put that in the front field because that's where it can fit, where we wouldn't have to clear the trees to be able to have that. So I've already taken a lot of that consideration.
Any other comments? Board comments, questions?
Maybe we should just keep it on this. This one, maybe.
We haven't made a motion yet, so we can discuss that. You can make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the whole list that's on that. Following uses.
permitted uses.
All permitted uses for you. It's in this, that you eliminated when you were reading it.
So you would approve alpine slide, archery, strongly, ATV trail riding, bird watching, club, business association, and community meetings or training activities, cross-country skiing, dancing, day camp, downhill skiing, equipment rental service for approved activities, equipment sales excluding snowmobiles, fishing, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, hunting, indoor gaming and events, luge, miniature golf, non-competitive mountain biking, orienteering, racket sports, skate park, ice skating rink, ski jumping, snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobile rentals, snowmobile trail riding, swimming, non-competitive trail running, and zip line subject to certain conditions.
And theater. Unless they're considering that in a different group. And theater.
And theater, yes.
Okay. I just didn't know if you were
Yes.
talking about that later.
So you made that motion.
I'll make the motion to accept them all on that list. And-
Subject to
and theater,
conditions.
Subject to approval.
Subject to conditions, yep.
And the site plan review.
Well, let's talk about what those conditions might be.
Please.
And the outdoor, yep.
So we have a motion to approve all permitted uses subject to certain conditions,
Yep,
which we have yet not stated,
right.
and we don't have a second yet.
I'll second.
So,
Then we're open for discussion at this point.
based on the conversations I've had with the board, my understanding is that the most important condition of approval would be this. In addition to the previously approved hours of operation are 6 a.m. to midnight, and those remain the approved hours of operation for these activities. A building permit must be obtained prior to any structures, including archery lanes, a tennis court, a permanent ice skating rink, a ski lift, including J or T bars, docks or piers, skate park ramps, pipes, bowls, or decks, ski jumps, swimming pools, permanent outdoor movie screens, or zip lines. And those will also require an amendment to the site plan approval. So you can do the activities, but you can't build anything.
Yeah, I just have a question. What do you mean by amendment to a site plan?
So
Is it just like I submit that, and then once that's submitted, it goes to the site plan, or do we have to have like?
So we have to do the hearing process, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. You just kind of need to say, here's where we're going to put our permanent outdoor movie screen.
Right.
The use is already approved, and as long as it's someplace that makes sense on the site, you know,
Yeah.
it's a quickie little.
So do I have to have a public hearing?
We do have to have a public
building
hearing.
permit?
Yeah. And then I think that is really the only other condition of approval that we had talked about when we consulted. Does that make sense to everyone?
I have a question on that. So, public hearing, let's say for the outside, the theater,
Yep.
can we then, at that point, condition the size of it? Or the hours? Or no? At that point, or do we have to do that now?
You could condition the size of it for sure. You know, if they wanted to build one you could see from space, that could be a problem. I don't think you could condition the hours to be less than midnight, because those are the approved hours of operation.
So how could we put conditions on the live music that was already approved with the hours of operation?
Because live music has never been previously approved.
But wouldn't it fall within the business that I'm holding? So like, I have paint night at this. If I wanted to run a paint night until midnight, is that something, and I wanted to do it outside, is that something I would have to ask?
What you've been previously approved for were indoor functions. So the indoor music can go till midnight. It's the outdoor music and the outdoor, so the outdoor service of food is new.
But you would say that, you know, we have outdoor activities that are allowed for until midnight, so why would that not be included with that?
Just because the music is the noise and so that is the conditions the board imposed. You're free, I mean, talk to your attorney if that is something y'all want to challenge, you're free to challenge it. It's there to protect the neighbors from the noise.
That's all right, yeah, I was just asking, to clarify. And then for the amendment to the site plan, do you have somewhere in the rules and procedure where I can read up on that?
They should be, it would be a change of use. So
Well,
It would be a new structure, so yes, it should be in there. I will help you find it before we leave today. Okay. So does everyone understand what the motion is and what the condition of approval is? And you're going to get a very detailed written notice of decision. Okay.
So, just to be clear,
Yes,
let's say a skateboard park.
yes,
They would come back for an amendment.
yep.
We would say, sure, but not past 10 o'clock. Or can we do that at that point? Just have that on the theater or other things that might be noisy or.
I would say that if you want to reserve the ability to do that, you need to do that now.
Anybody on the board want to discuss that, or we just?
Well, I think to Steve's point, he's a neighbor, and he's going to respect whatever activity they're doing to not create havoc. And if he hears about it, I'm sure he's going to respond to it. So I believe that.
But what about past Steve?
And I will say that, in addition, the paragraphs that Molly has written have given us proposed hours of operation. And will you commit to being bound by those for the activities that you have provided? You want to be able to run the skate park till midnight?
I mean, yeah, so I don't have to go for a special event. I think a big reason that we're filing for all of this is not just because we want to do everything. Like, I don't know anything about hot air ballooning, okay? But it's on there because, say I have an event that wants to book 3 weeks from now. They just lost out on a pass place for, an event space, and they said, I need something in 3 weeks. I don't want to have to scramble or tell them no, that I can't do that because I have to go to the board first. I mean, last year alone, I lost out on wedding after wedding because they wanted to have a wedding in a month and a half, and the board wouldn't let me have outdoor alcohol, so I would lose thousands of dollars in 10 minutes by saying, well, I can't submit an application to the town for 2 weeks, and then, they have 2 months to decide on it. That's why I'm submitting everything in whole, and I don't want to keep myself bound to something because the mountain isn't just, I know a lot of people are concerned about the restaurant, and it looks like we're just running a restaurant up there. The restaurant is just a small key to what we're doing up there. The restaurant is, somewhere for people to come in, relax, warm up, rest up before, they go back out, or, they start their day of activities, or they just ended their day of activities. It's somewhere for them to come and collect themselves and move on. I know it looks like a big majority of what we're doing, but it's not. Say, I have Paul's school come over because they want their track and field to practice running through the trails, but they can't get there until 5 o'clock, and they all have headlamps on, and they want to run until 7, or they want to hike the mountain until 8. I'm not going to tell them, oh, no, you can't do that because I told the board that it would be ending at 4 p.m., and, I don't want the board to sue me. I'm going to say, I want open parameters to these things. I'm going to be respectful. I think anyone that owns Moose Mountain is going to be respectful. I mean, we're in Brookfield, which hasn't developed a step in years. So it's like, really, what do you expect the next owner to think? They're not going to come up here and turn everything upside down because they know the town's going to come in and find a way to, tell them, oh, you've done this wrong, you've done this wrong. So I feel as if, I put my own parameters on skate park hours, I lose out on the opportunity of having a function in a timely manner. So I'd like to, keep things, very light around the parameters of what I'm proposing because it's a business. It's not always black and white. It's not always easy. Say I have, a Tony Hawk getting married at Moose Mountain, and he wants the skate park open for him and his buddies between 7 and 9. I'm gonna let him and his buddies skate it up at Moose. But I think I've made my point. It's just I'm not proposing all of this so I can have all 18 surrounding towns come over with all their kids and all their drunk uncles and come out and burn Moose Mountain down. I'm doing it so everyone can come together and have a place to hang out, rest up, and if we have these certain activities, they're available to the public. I'm someone from the public. I'm someone who's grown up here. The skate park in Wakefield was like the hangout spot when I was growing up. It was right behind Tumble Down the restaurant. They ripped it up and they moved it. And then guess what we're doing? We're hanging out on the triangle in the front of IGA. You know they didn't like that. You know, so we got booted from there. But where are you supposed to go if you're in Hitting Town? You know, where is your family supposed to go if you live in town? If you live in, you know, Wolfboro or Wakefield or, you know, Brookfield or Ossipee, there's nothing. You
And
know?
I will say also, this doesn't approve any new lighting, so if you want to do it after dark, you do need to come in to amend to have additional lighting, and as
Right.
part of that, I'm sure there will be discussion about buffering the lighting, potentially buffering any noise it might create.
Right, but that stuff was already submitted. That was already approved when, you know, that lighting was put in place.
The existing lighting.
Yeah,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and we have lighting all the way up the mountain, you know, or at least halfway, I believe. I don't think it's fully up there. But, you know, those things are already, I'm working with what's already in place. I'm not proposing, you know, any new structures. And if anything is new structures, it's very minimal. Most likely you won't even see it from the road. Like I said, right here where this blue line is, we have a tree line. You know, blocks us completely from the road, which buffers, you know, sound. There's also a huge mobile right here that buffers sound. We have another tree line over here, so the only opening we have is our driveway. So all of our new activities that we're doing are not in any way changing the use of Moose Mountain. I mean, this weekend, I haven't been advertising for, you know, snowmobilers to come by at all. We got this first snowstorm, and we had snowmobilers there all day long. And guess what they said? I've been coming here for the last 25 years, you know? We've been doing this every year. Or I have sledders and skiers that were here last year. Oh, there was nothing here last year, and we come here every single weekend. Well, we're trying to do that now, but now we're getting, you know, buffered. I'm not putting any parameters on stuff that had no parameters the entire time the public was using it. Parameters to outside alcohol. You know, I have tight parameters on that with the town. The town thinks I'm dropping beers from the sky. I have an outdoor seating area, but there was 18 trash cans on Moose Mountain at the beginning of this spring, before we were even open, that I had to empty, overflowing onto the ground from people from the previous summer and that winter. I mean, people have been drinking there, and people have been unsupervised. There's been, you know, minors there drinking. There's been our little sheds up the mountain for the ski area. They're all destroyed. The windows are broken. The doors are broken off, and they're filled with beer cans. I mean, we're trying to limit the public use that's being destructive to Moose and limit it so people can still do these activities they've always done, but with our own parameters on it to keep everyone safe and everyone comfortable, our neighbors aware of who's there, and that someone's being there, keeping people safe.
I think the board hears you.
I'd like to amend your motion just to have a couple conditions that we hopefully will all agree on. So the same one we had before, that all required local, state, and federal permits must be secured. Hours of operation, I would suggest we use Molly's hours on her various activities. Otherwise, it's 6 to midnight. New lighting requires an amendment, and parking limited to 92 spaces.
I think what you heard Molly say, she doesn't want to be bound by the, and this was what she was worried about, by submitting the descriptions. So might I suggest that instead of using Molly's hours, maybe you propose outdoor sporting activities end by 10?
That's fine. I'll amend that amendment.
Is that okay with you? That's fine.
And that is the activities that we're hosting, correct? And if the public's there after 10?
Yes.
But sorry, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
We still have the hours of operations to operate until midnight.
Yes.
But you guys are guiding us to end by 10. Or are we being locked into end?
ATV trail riding ends by 10.
So all activities end by 10 and our 12 a.m. is
Outdoor sporting activities. ATV riding, skiing.
We can. How do you control ATVs and snowmobiles on the mountain when it's an open trail?
All night long over there.
I mean, they groom the trails at midnight,
Any that you control.
right? I mean, so,
Okay, downhill skiing, like any of your trails.
Or if it's an event, the event needs to end at 10. But they can go inside after.
Your lifts don't run past 10.
Yeah, I'm not gonna agree to that. I mean, no room to grow, obviously. I think we need to stick with our hours.
Well, the hours that were proposed were actually not till midnight. You can always come back to extend them as your business grows. If you decide you want to have your ski mountain open till midnight, you can do that. So,
Do we need to get another site plan for temporary lighting as well? If we have a special event, we have temporary lighting that we pull in, do we need to come back to the board to get the temporary lighting?
if you have a special event and you're going to the selectmen to get a special event permit, the lighting would be covered by that.
Not planning board, selectmen.
I would negotiate with anything that is going to cause noise pollution to end at 10, along with the music.
Outdoor sporting activities that cause noise pollution.
Admit noise.
Okay.
So, we don't allow ATVs on property as is, but, snowmobilers, we don't really have the control over
No, you don't.
anyways. That's something, me and Bridget all weekend were trucking up the mountain after snowmobilers telling them they can't be on the face of the mountain all weekend long, ignoring the signs as is. So, anything that emits noise on our behalf, we'll try and end by 10.
Outdoor sporting activities controlled by Moose Mountain that cause noise pollution.
Could you repeat that?
Outdoor sporting activities controlled by Moose Mountain that cause noise pollution, and by 10. You can always come back to change it if it doesn't work. Okay?
Quick question. How do you define noise pollution?
We're gonna work our way through it. We're gonna see, we're gonna try it and see how it works.
Yeah, that's a lot. Noise echoes.
So you're giving us a noise ordinance now?
I am not giving you a noise ordinance.
That's basically what we.
I'm giving you a condition of approval.
Mark Blackwood is responsible. Snowmobile trail goes through my front yard. And I've been approached before about ATV clubs, and I don't want it. For the reason that your windows are open in the summer, it's noisy. I don't want, snowmobiles, I don't mind seeing them. It's a big concern. In the summer, when you get your windows open and all, it's a lot of noise. I live there, I let people go through my front yard. I'm not gonna let four-wheelers go through the front yard. I think when you talk midnight, having four-wheelers go through the front yard,
Yeah.
but
I did state that we don't allow ATVs or dirt bikes on the property
All right.
currently.
But just as far as noise pollution, I'm not against you guys, but in the same sense, like someone like myself, it's my front yard that your customers are going to be walking through. The sleds are one thing. Noise pollution is a concern, and I think it's a real thing, especially in the summer. It's a little different from the sleds in the winter when your house is locked up.
So for ATVs, right, so for an ATV to go on a trail, they have to have, it's like the snowmobile trails, ATVs have it. So if they approve it for the mountain, and those ATVs leave the mountain, go up past my house, which they always do, or run the trail right by your house, that's not approved by, because there is no ATV club up there, I don't believe. There's a snowmobile club, but the ATV club, I think, closed several years ago because they got no
Yeah,
traction.
I don't believe ATVs are allowed on the same trails as the snowmobile clubs.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, so that was they know where
I just want to
Mr. Blackwood has the floor, please. You have the floor. Oh, go ahead.
Janet Williamson again. I think what we're asking for is rules of reasonability here. And I think what you're presenting is, let's be reasonable, 10 o'clock is the cutoff, is what the board would like to see. And we all have to understand there are things that happen that are beyond our control. We own 80 acres over here. We have ATVs coming on the property stealing our fruit, and we try to do a garden out back. with our vegetable stand, we have snowmobilers that go through and get our horses upset. Stuff happens in life, I get it, I don't like it, but it is what it is. And I think all you two are both asking for the same thing, let's just follow some rules of reasonability. If it has to go, you have an event and it has to go before the Board of Selectmen, my understanding is they don't have to go through anywhere near the multi-week process to get it approved. And I think you'll be able to get what you want, which is the approval in a couple of weeks. And I think that might answer both of your concerns.
All right, can we read it again so we all know what we're voting on? Yes. So you're moving to approve alpine slide, archery, astronomy, ATV trail riding, bird watching, club, business association, community meetings or training activities, cross-country skiing, dancing, day camp, downhill skiing, equipment rental service for approved activities, equipment sales excluding snowmobiles, fishing, horseback riding, hot air ballooning, hunting, indoor gaming events, luge, miniature golf, non-competitive mountain biking, orienteering, racket sports, skate park, ice skating rink, ski jumping, snowshoeing, snowboarding, snowmobile rentals, snowmobile trail riding, swimming, non-competitive trail riding, zip lines, and an outdoor theater. This approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. Prior to undertaking any approved uses, all required local, state, and federal permits shall be secured. Hours of operation are 6 a.m. to midnight, except for outdoor sporting activities controlled by Moose Mountain that cause noise pollution, which shall end by 10 p.m. The construction of any structure, including but not limited to archery lanes, a tennis court, a permanent ice skating rink, a ski lift, including J or T bars, docks or piers, skate park, ramps, pipes, bowls or decks, ski jumps, swimming pools, permanent outdoor movie screens or zip lines, will require an amendment to the site plan approval and the building permit. This approval does not approve any new lighting, and exceptions to these conditions may be made by special event permit issued by the Board of Selectmen. Who wants to make that motion? You make that motion.
I will make that motion. You got that. Thank you, Rick.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
I think that's everything. What are we doing? Forgetting
Well-
anything, Ron?
I don't believe so, but I have a few more clarifying questions.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to close the meeting to public comments, but you can go ahead.
So, banquet facility activities are already approved. Could you tell me what those activities are?
That was your functions and events that were already approved.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does that approve?
Any indoor functions or events.
Okay.
And the outdoor.
Does it specifically prohibit anything outdoor?
I think your outdoor weddings are approved now, so
Okay.
it's, yeah,
And that's with the alcohol service, correct?
that would include alcohol service, yes. For alcohol service?
No, for the special event.
For outdoor events? Well, the outdoor weddings are approved, so the outdoor events are approved, yeah.
And then I know we approved club or business meetings or training activities.
Yep.
I'd like to ask the board how that is different from art/craft shows or AV shows, since this would be like club meetings or similar interests. That's what.
Because those are like outside, that's like when like the Crafters Guild comes and has like a craft show. Those are conditional use permits.
The short answer is unfortunately, that's what was put on the list
Right.
15 years ago.
Bridget, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. If we have the outdoor movie, that's cut at 10 as well? Or is that's just outdoor sports? I just wanted to make sure.
That's right.
And that's on a big blow-up screen that Molly described that comes down.
Yeah, it's portable.
I just want to make sure because I always leave these
Yeah.
and I'm like, I should have so many notes. guess not, but I would just like to thank you guys again for coming out and expressing your concerns. As someone from the public, I like to work a lot with the public. I mean, I work with a few other community groups around here as well, and works with a lot of, people from the community. So you guys mean a lot to me for being here and, supporting Moose Mountain or kind of being against Moose Mountain. But I'll always have the door open at the lodge for you guys to come in. And I think Steve said this as well, you guys are neighbors. When we sent out the letter to our neighbors, we specifically said to not think of us as another business invading your space in the woods. You just think of us as a neighbor that you can come on over and borrow some sugar, I really, really appreciate everyone dealing with this process, especially the board and Leah for 8,000 hours on paperwork duty. But thank you very much for everything.
Thank you. You have one more thing?
I just needed a clarification on conditional use. Is there a process for conditional use now?
There's an application.
Conditional use
Come on up,
application.
we'll talk about it.
I'd like to close the meeting, 7:26.
How about, can you tell us what you're It definitely does.
It's part of the zoning ordinance, so there are rules embedded in there. And those would be, anything over here would require a conditional use permit.
All right, so that was changed recently, correct?
There was going to be an amendment. There was going to be a proposed zoning amendment to accept that. They pulled it because they didn't want to impact you. They wanted to give you the opportunity to apply.
I can tell you what happened briefly. There was a non-permitted uses after this, like 2 or 3 years ago.
They changed the list without going to town meeting.
No. I'll tell you exactly what happened. There was a non-permitted list that came after this. There was a warrant article to get rid of that. When the website was updated, whoever did it took out both of these. That's why it wasn't there for a period of time until I discovered that this was missing, and I had Leah put it back in where it was supposed to be. This has always been there, it just was not on the website due to an error, like a clerical error.
But it's changed.
It hasn't changed. It's not changed. This has been there since 2010, I think. It disappeared due to a clerical error for, 6 months or so. And that was, if you go back to the minutes, you'll see that I brought that up at one of the meetings back in October, noting that was missing, that we need to put it back in.
So that's the original list from '92.
I don't know exactly from when. It's been in there for